In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. How are you doing this morning? Now, I think it'd be very difficult to escape from the misery, the horror of what's been going on in Israel and Palestine. I don't want to dwell too much on this, not because it's not important. It's truly horrific. It's hellish in my view. And certainly I don't think this is the place to discuss what would be called the politics of the situation. And there are many places, of course, where you can do that. I don't want to not say anything. It seems wrong and uncomfortable not to mention it at all, given that it's it's truly disgusting, atrocious situation. And it would be wrong not to mention it or just to avoid the subject completely. The best I feel I can do in the situation that we find ourselves in is do what we always do, I think, which is to appeal to human beings, to people, and deal with this on a people level, and do what we can to help our brothers and sisters, our fellow human beings, whether they're from Israel, from Palestine, from Iran, America, everybody who has some. Well, we all have some interest in the widest possible use of the word in this situation. Some are being more horrifically and tragically affected than others in the immediate sense. But this is one of those situations, I think, in the world where we're all affected, and what happens will affect us all, and already is affecting the general atmosphere and our outlook, our human outlook in the world. So my request, my invitation is that we reach out to people of the nationalities who are directly involved to see how we can support them. You know, we are, of course, a group mainly of international foreigners, immigrants, expats, whatever word you want to use, living here in Portugal. And there will be, of course, people from those communities who are most immediately affected. And I think what we can do, the best thing we can do, is not to add our input politically or the understandable anger and emotions that go with this. I don't think this is the place necessarily for that. But what we're good at, I believe, is offering a space for people to come together and to support each other. You know, we are. There may be people from the countries immediately affected, from the cultures immediately affected, who are a long way from home, who are struggling with what they're seeing and what's happening to their families and friends back home. Perhaps we can offer support and a space to be helpful to those people. So that would be my request, my invitation to people from anyone who feels this deeply and who wouldn't. And specifically those people in the cultures directly affected. Let's see what we can do as our immigrant network, which is effectively what we are, formally or informally. Let's see what we can do to help people. It's not something I want to avoid, but it's not something I want to talk about in a way that probably isn't very useful in the grand scheme of things. Let's do what we can do that might be useful in this situation. Okay, good morning to you. Thank you for being here, Coach Turner. João de Norte, it's great to see you back. It was great to talk to you last night. John, thank you for turning up for the Portugal Club last night. Excellent to talk to Nuno as well. Our main business last night was talking about the working title, the Expat Angels Project, where we're looking to support Portuguese entrepreneurs here in Portugal. Well, actually anywhere in the world, but on a day when I see both the Portugal Resident and the Portugal News reporting the fact that a third of Portuguese families, I think it is. I'm not sure what the exact wording is, but 830-ish euros. Oh, yeah, 1 in 3 Portuguese families earns just 830-ish euros a month. Now, of course, that has to be seen in context. I mean, even with the 2 extra months that Portuguese people get paid, it's a 14-month salary cycle. It's a funny one. It's still not a lot of money, let's face it, is it? Given the rises in the cost of living that we've seen recently, and they don't look like they're going anywhere except up in the near future. So perhaps we can help in a different way. I'm not sure there's much we can do. Us lot, we can spend our money, can't we, in Portuguese businesses? I'm sure that will help. And yeah, if it's not all gobbled up in the new NHR changes. But we can help by circulating our money, as Vitor Costa was saying on Monday, within current. It's called currency for a reason. Let's get it circulating if we can. And if you're interested in our Expat Angels project, working title, that is going to change after a conversation with John and Nunu last night, and others who are also interested in being part of this project. The wording will change, but I'm sure it conveys a sense of what we're trying to do. And if I can share with you a draft vision, what we're about is supporting and nurturing entrepreneurs in Portugal with funding and mentorship. Again, we don't want to seem in any way patronizing. We want to be helpful, but leave those entrepreneurs to do what they do best, of course, enabling the entrepreneurs, the business folk, to make a positive and meaningful difference to foreigners moving to Portugal, as well as Portuguese people and society. And there are so many fabulous businesses in this country that I think probably do need a bit of support. The business setup situation, certainly from my experience, is a little bit archaic and challenging, and they need all the help they can get. If you're running a business in this country, I think you're not seen as you are perhaps in the United States, for example. Entrepreneurialism is not I don't know, it's not the most valued profession or way of making money as some other professions would appear to be in Portugal. Mission statement then: the project brings together a diverse and complementary team of foreign and Portuguese business professionals who can support entrepreneurs in Portugal make a positive and meaningful difference. Thanks to Christina Brand, who is she's brand by name and branding by nature or by profession. Christina, of course, a marketing professional who helped us with that. Anybody else who wants to get involved in that, do let me know. You can know where I am, 913-590-303. So that was last evening's Portugal Club discussion. If you want to join us for the Portugal Club, you can sign up for that and be part of those discussions on our homepage, goodmorningportugal.com. Yeah, Coach Turner, Shannon Man, James here this morning. Mr. S, good morning to you. And James was here first. T-Duck on tour at the moment. Looking forward to your return, T-Duck. Bom dia a todos. Feliz terça. Como vão? Dad joke warning. Let's have a bit of a dad joke, shall we? Which I forgot yesterday. So let's do it now so that I don't forget. Top drawer, it has to be said. Inspecting mirrors is a job I could really see myself doing. It might be a recycled dad joke, that one. I might be one of T-Ducks from way back. But there's nothing wrong, is there, with a regurgitated? And that is the right word to use. I think they are regurgitated, aren't they, dad jokes? Something to think about. Do racehorses slow down when they see police horses? Probably not. They're far smarter than we are. Bon dia from the coach then, who I will be watching with a particular interest today. Henry is joining me. Of course, the whole interest around health and fitness, well-being, vitality is well covered by Coach Turner's wonderful gift to our community, which you can find at gmpvip.com. The God Squad program, Grey Watch, we've also called it, haven't we? Growing Old Disgracefully. And Coach Turner all over it, and has been for the last, is it a couple of years now, Ian, that we've been doing this, that you've been doing it mainly. And there's a program there which you can embark upon. And I went a stage further when I realized, I've written about it this week, so I won't spoil the surprise that will be in the residence soon. Because I chronicled the beginning of the program, and I'm chronicling the conclusion of it. And we're talking to Henry about the climax of my 50+ shape and shift efforts program, as I've called it, today. And I will be writing about it in the paper. And we'll be talking about that with Henry at around 9. We've got Jackie joining us at 8:45 or thereabouts, so she'll be here soon. And Philippe, somebody who I don't know, but Colin put us in touch with Philippe, who's talking about pickleball. This is Philippe from Peak Pickleball. When he got in touch with me yesterday, Colin mentioned that you would like to interview us for your radio show. Absolutely would, Philippe. We'll see you at around 9:30. Talking about I think we'll talk about pickleball generally, There's pickle and paddle, of course, not to be confused. Don't turn up with the wrong kit. There's a tournament coming up in Caldas. Please let me know when you want this to happen. It's happening today at around 9:30, if all goes according to plan. So go back to Coach Turner then, the originator, the founding influence of our God Squad program, Health and Fitness for Bon Viveurs. Bon dia, meus amigos, como estás? Good news, no serious adverse reactions from training yesterday. Well done, Coach. A quiet day today, planting bulbs in the garden to brighten springtime. Yeah, that was one of the things that inspired me to take it to another level of intensity, was the bending over, which Coach Turner will be doing today, planting bulbs, I suspect, unless he's got something from the innovations catalog that automates or assists in that process. I was getting a bit resentful bending over to get to lower cupboards. I could hear my knees going up and down the stairs. But what really did it was my so-called friends shouting out at the charity rounders match as I made my triumphant home run. I knocked that ball out the park. I ran, I dropped the bat, I ran first base, second base, third base, onto fourth, hands in the air and waving and whooping to the crowd, only to hear from the crowd, "Get a sports bra." And it was at that moment that I realized I might want to lose a little bit of weight and develop my pecs a little bit. Anyway, quiet day today, planting bulbs in the garden to brighten springtime. Looking forward to spring already, Coach? And your God Squad tip of the day to go with that. As I've mentioned before, it seems sprinting is one of the best forms of interval training. However, it's unlikely the majority of you will be as extreme as I am. I think it's safe to say I don't think there are any other sprinters that I'm aware of in our community, except when it's the race to get to the Pastel de Natas. We can reframe it, can't we? To the cake shop, maybe. There's a few that break into a sweat and run for those last few meters. Carl mentioned yesterday, walking yesterday. So let's explore that for a moment. Given that a good race walk can be as fast as a good club runner, seriously, then obviously the effort required will be similar. Adding a few short, fast steps into a walk can certainly be a good way to increase effort. Even more so if it's uphill. We've got those here in Portugal, of course, haven't we? Add 5 to 6, 15 to 20 second maximum efforts to your daily routine. Report back on that as well. So just suddenly burst into some faster walking or jogging whilst you're out walking and let us know how that goes. And don't do it straight away. Warm up a little bit, of course. Looking forward to seeing your results, says Coach Turner as well, which I'm delighted to share with you. Enough respect, as Linford Christie used to say. Send my best to Linford when you next see him, Coach. Bon dia a todos from João de Norte. As I said, thanks for being here, John. It's great to see you back in the country. And those hearts, I think, are for the message that I mentioned earlier on, for anyone who is anyone who is affected deeply by the situation in Israel and Palestine at the moment. We're here for you as a community. We'll do our best to support you. So do reach out if you can. That's my personal number, as well as the mailbag, if you like, the correspondence line and number for expats. Expats Portugal. It's not, well, if you want to send me any information about Expats Portugal, you can do that and I'll forward it straight on to Jackie, or you can speak to her yourself when she joins us in a minute or so. But for Good Morning Portugal, 913-590-303. If you are a foreigner, immigrant, expat who is struggling, especially with friends and family back home in the Middle East, and you need help and support, that's the number, 913-590-303. Or you can reach out to me, Carl at goodmorningportugal.com as well. And thank you, Carl, says Shannon, sending love to all involved, of course, as well. Wow. Okay, it is 8:44. It's a little bit early, but I'm going to give her a nice big round of applause now. Actually, it's just switched to 8:45, as is 22.5 degrees here in the studio, 20 degrees outside on a grey Silver Coast this morning. Let's find out what the weather's like in Cascais this morning. Good morning to you, Jackie. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It's pretty overcast. It was raining earlier.
And can you hear the sea from where you are in your apartment?
No, I can't. I'm probably about 6 to 7 minute walk from the ocean.
Okay, we don't normally hear the sea, but when it's a stormy time, and I took a cracking photo, even if I say so myself, yesterday of the sea, you know, at its most what would we say? Dynamic. It was the tone of the picture was blue. I couldn't change it. I thought there was something wrong with my camera, but it was really like autumnal and blue and wintry here at the Silver Coast. And I was hearing, as I was walking the dogs last night, I could hear it as well. Very dramatic at the moment. So have you seen the worst of it, do you think, or are you still battening down the hatches there?
I think we've seen the worst of it, but I have seen some pretty spectacular things walking along the coast of Cascais, because we have a bicycle path and a walk that is right along the coast. And I have seen those waves come and splash into the street. Yeah. And it's really dramatic. Like people are walking and everyone's getting hit by waves, which is pretty unusual. And it's really also quite beautiful and startling, I think.
It is, absolutely. So good luck to everyone who may be faced with a bit of a flooding or deluge situation at the moment. I think the weather warnings are still in place here in Portugal.
All right, yeah.
Out there. Antonio Barbosa is here, a bit of Tony time. The man in the Minho is here with us. Bon dia alegria. Morning greetings from Villanova to Saveira. Happy Wednesday. Thank you, igualmente, dear friend Tony time. Oh, look. I haven't managed to get Diane Gomes out of our community. She's offering us 700,000 euros, which is very generous. But I will do my best to stop her bothering us as the show unfolds. Jackie, were Expats Portugal having a bit of routine maintenance late last night? I saw one of our community said the website was down. Have you been remixing it again and adding further improvements?
I think they are adding improvements. We have a new website, basically, that's gone up in the last month. So I think they're just kind of working out some of the kinks in that, because there's always something when you put up a new website.
Kinky. There's always something kinky with a new website, isn't it? You see what I mean? And those are being ironed out as we speak. And the big news, of course, will be, well, it's ongoing, isn't it, with the NHR? What's the temperature, the atmosphere like at Expats Portugal? No doubt with people getting in touch and saying, "What do we do? What help can we get with this?" How is that for you at the moment and the team?
There's a lot of anxiety. I do consultations, especially with Americans, and it's clear it's a lot of anxiety. And I think we talked about this last week. We're going to be talking to somebody else again on Thursday, Holborn Assets.
Yeah.
And they're an investment company, but they're giving people ways to not only think about it, but how to plan for it. And because the reality is NHO is going to end for all of us at one point or another.
Yes,
we're all going to have to figure this out.
Yes.
And one of the things that I think is, if you think about what happened with the Golden Visa. So now Golden Visa, it's not real estate, but you could still get a Golden Visa, let's say, if you donate 250,000 euro to the arts. Mm. So there's different ways that the government is navigating the Golden Visa now. It's not what it was, but it is morphed into something else. And something tells me they're going to do the same thing, especially with, I have a son that was was in the middle of getting his digital nomad. And he was like, "Mom, for my salary, it's going to be almost impossible to live with the new tax obligation I would have as a resident."
Yes.
And it was pretty severe. I mean, it went from him making like 44,000 US dollars to 28.
Considerable.
That is considerable. He's like, it makes no sense at this point.
Yes.
But because Portugal is an older country, I cannot imagine them not wanting younger, more vibrant workers coming into the country to make it. I mean, they need youth, they need the industry. As something tells me, I said, just wait. I think the government's going to figure something out, especially for remote workers. And I think they're going to do the same thing with the NHR. That's my gut feeling, because they're not stupid.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the way these things tend to work is that there will be what appears to be a very sudden announcement. And this is certainly one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, really sudden.
I was in a conversation last night about, how did this happen? It sounds dictatorial almost, doesn't it? Is that, well, it didn't go through any obvious process. And it's like, one of the things I heard, I think it was Daniel, some of these measures can be introduced during a budget. so they don't have to go through the process we would expect, whereby the Prime Minister takes something from the Parliament and has to push it past the President. That's what happened, it would appear, with the golden visa, even though ultimately the President looked like he did something he didn't want to do. He went with the consensus, I think, the political consensus. And then suddenly we see with this NHR thing, Senor Costa announcing it late night on TV, and that it's going to happen real soon, and no one seems to know what the process was about that. And then what we'll find, presumably, as you say, is that there will be it's like a children's, like, you know, the old woman who swallowed a fly. Now she's got to get a spider to catch the fly. And then she's got to get a bird to catch the spider. It's going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, we didn't see that happening. We didn't see the NHR going as affecting all these digital nomads and these young people coming and doing amazing things in the country. We better make an exception for them. We'll do another law.
Yeah.
And that's how this thing is. I guess a lot of countries are like that. They're held together by a web of laws and, you know, the political equivalent of gaffer tape, WD-40, and cable ties behind the scenes to make everything work. Each time they do something, they've got to do something else to put it right again. Is that what you suspect?
I do suspect that, and I also think there's kind of a bit of a tragedy along with that for a lot of people, because first of all, SEF appointments were incredibly difficult to get, and people have been waiting now, you know, up to a year for a SEF appointment. That's not unheard of. And so all these people that were waiting, those people, they're not getting their NHR because you have had to go through your SEF and get your temporary residency. So can you imagine, you've been working on this for a year. You have done everything right. SEF has been a mess. That's no fault of your own. And yet now you get the additional punishment of not getting the NHR.
Yeah.
So I think there's a real lack of almost compassion for people that have been through the process.
Yeah.
People put a lot, I mean, people change their lives to come here. I mean, huge. It's a huge change.
It was a conversation we were having yesterday, and that does seem rather, well, it is unfair. It is unfair, isn't it? And we're hearing, I'm looking at the Portugal news in another window here. Many questions remain before the end of SEF. The union that represents non-police workers at SEF have lamented the lack of definition, that's in quotes, the lack of definition regarding the employees who will move to the new agency, considering that they deserve complete clarification. Another quote, they're looking for complete clarification. Well, good luck with that. Less than 15 days before the end of the service. So those staff still don't really know where and how they're going to be working 15 days before it's meant to come into being. So it's a mess, isn't it? And this is only adding a further complication to that mess.
It's a mess, and I think there's so many ways to look at it. So there's the lack of compassion, right? Well, if you could move here as an expat, then you're not starving. So the hell with you kind of attitude. But I think if you look at it in other ways, people make major life decisions to move from one country to the next.
It's a big deal,
and they just disrupted that in such a cruel way, because especially people on Social Security from the US, I mean, they were probably depending on that NHR just to meet basic needs once they came here.
Those are the people who I believe will be most affected with their plans. And there is, of course, the immediate reaction, which is challenging for people and upsetting. And I'm sure you can help with that over at Expats Portugal on the forum there for people to unburden themselves of their most immediate concerns. And then, of course, tomorrow evening, as we can see on the screen here, the practical help as well. So a live webinar tomorrow, the fundamentals of good wealth management and financial planning. And we've got two speakers, haven't we, we've got Henry Kent. I really enjoy speaking to Henry, lovely fella. And I've spoken to Mary Ann once as well previously on earlier webinars. So we'll be chatting to them. We'll find out more about them, the essential advice, everything financial you should consider before you move. That's good to know. Essential advice for when you become tax resident in Portugal. Update on the NHR, the all-important news of the moment. Investment services for US connected clients, and a bit of a Q&A. Anything else you want to add to that, Jackie?
I think if you're in a certain income bracket, it's going to be invaluable to hear this particular one.
Yeah. Okay.
And I also think one of the things that they may also, besides giving you practical numbers, and what I'm hoping, because this is something I'm talking to with some of my clients that I do consultations with, is a way to look at it. I mean, not all is lost, because even though you're going to be paying a higher tax rate, it may not be as bad as you think, because there is no double taxation. And my understanding, and again, they're going to clear it up, so I could be completely wrong, so do your homework. But my understanding is that if you pay for $100, and let's say 100 euros, you're taxed at 45% or 48% for 100 euros. Let's just throw out a number. So how much does that leave you? That leaves you 52 euros. So the US isn't going to tax you on that original 100 euros. They're going to tax you on what's left, which is the 52, which is a much lower tax bracket. Now, it's not much lower for everybody, and it may not make much of a difference for some people. But for some people, that tax bracket will be lowered significantly.
Great.
So,
well, we will put that theory to the test tomorrow night, Jackie, shall we?
well, I could be wrong. That's what I'm hoping.
I know I have been, and in my efforts to be, well-meaning efforts to help, sometimes it's best left to these pros, isn't it? Who'll be joining us tomorrow evening, and the help is at hand for people struggling in this situation. And I think the general advice is like, okay, it's upsetting, it's a sudden change, it's a shocker, and there is help available. So once you've calmed down and taken a breath, do the numbers. Don't just have an emotional reaction about moving to Portugal.
That is the smartest thing anybody could say, which is, no, really. And I think that you're so right.
Yeah.
Do your numbers.
Yeah, do the numbers after the first shock. And that's that's odd advice coming from me. I'm not a numbers guy, but I realise the benefit of doing so in this instance. So that's tomorrow evening.
Great advice.
A lovely little October the 15th. A review, 5-star review that's just come in. Great people and a great resource. We became community members at the end of last year. Say these folks, Nick and Jenny. And found the site to be extremely friendly and helpful. Our move to Portugal is likely to happen in the first half of 24, so we upgraded to premium membership to give us full access to all the benefits that Expats Portugal has to offer. Shortly after joining, we received a lovely welcome email from Jerry and the Dream Team. Sounds like a band. Jerry and the Dream Team. Very customers who explains the benefits of premium. He's got guitar, a premium membership and an invite to a Facebook.
It is a band. That's great.
Jerry and the Dream Team.
That's great.
Great guy, so enthusiastic. The way he introduced himself to the Dream Team and the wider expats community, isn't it wonderful? And if you're serious about a move to Portugal, they say, I would highly recommend becoming a premium member in this great community. Finally, a big thank you from us to Jerry and the Dream Team for such a warm welcome. 5-star review there. And he mentions the Dream Team, which is, of course, the session that follows. I mean, generally speaking, the Dream Team are all the people that will help you Expats Portugal, where there is a session with members of the Dream Team squad tomorrow night at 9, which I'm happy to host every Thursday evening. Anything else to say about what's coming up or Expats Portugal before we make way for our next guest, Henry? He's going to be looking at a new fit body in a little while. So, Jackie, what else have you got for us?
Well, I love what you said about the Dream Team, and I'll just say what we always say. One of the great advantages is that you're going to meet the Dream Team. You could ask questions as a premium member, and you really get to sample before you buy. And that's very unusual in the professional realm. So
it's a bit like that. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So I think that's a great advantage. And I'm a big fitness person, and I'm going to the gym right after this, and I'm going to do a Zumba class. So
yes, go. All right. And hopefully a nice big cake on the way home.
Oh, wait, I'm going to McDonald's breakfast first.
Living the dream. Always great fun chatting with you. Have a great time at the gym. Enjoy your break. That's the thing. I've written about this. We didn't move to Portugal to have a horsehair shirt existence and live a joyless life. We came here to enjoy all of what life has to offer, including the occasional Mackie D's breakfast, and then onward to the gym. Henry's listening now, so we need to make sure we've got that bit covered. And Mike, can I have the empty box, please, Mrs. M? Because this might try something Portuguese today. Is galão in a box? Have you still got a box, or have the cats chewed it up and destroyed it? Oh, that you're amazing. They can't see it in my Good Morning Portugal mode. Jackie, I'll say goodbye to you for now, and we'll see you tomorrow evening.
Bye, bye.
Ciao, ciao. All right. Cheers, Jackie. And during the next half an hour, we'll be trying our galão, our ready-mixed galão. Try something Portuguese. But I've got to welcome to the stage now. I want to welcome to the stage now because I'm quite pleased with myself. Let's see if he agrees. It's Henry Jeffries.
Morning, Carl.
StreekPro. Good morning to you, Henry. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm delighted to see you.
Is
there's
that Louisa's hand there?
the magic hand that's brought my. There's still loads left in the box. I hope it's good because we've got a lot to get through. Did you try this when you were in Portugal?
I didn't.
Henry?
No.
Será leite. O leite de Alentejo. It is the Alentejano galão in a box. Some Portuguese people, I suspect, will be shaking their heads, thinking, "If of all the things you could have, all the things you could try that are Portuguese, why that?" I'm going to try it in a while after we've had a chat with Henry here. So, Henry, should we sort of wind things back a little bit? You were over here, weren't you, a couple of months ago, 10 weeks ago, something like that?
Yeah.
And I saw how marvelously buff and fit you are, and you were at the time. I suspect you still are. And it was then I thought, okay, I've got to do something a little bit more intense than the God Squad, which is great to keep people on that level of thinking about these things. We've got the God Squad program, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna take it a stage further. Will you help me, Henry? And StreekPro coach Henry and my mate, of course, from the UK, said yes, I will. What was going through your head at that point, Henry, when you offered to help?
That you'd be a great fit for the course. I think, with anything, I think if you don't specialize, you can't really get very good at it. If you try and be a coach to everyone, you'll never be any good at it, in my personal opinion. So myself and Nina, we decided to specialize in what we were doing and have a more focused approach to it. So I take on all the male clients, Nina takes all the female clients that come our way. So specialize is guys who are 35 and over looking to lose some body fat, basically, and you fit that profile, buddy.
Nicely put. Well, I think it's time to show some pictures, isn't it? And I'm
cool. Go for it, mate.
Pleased with that. And there are some really important reasons to share this and for me to tell you why I think it's so good as well. So this is where we started out, wasn't it? And that's your regular kind of dad bod, isn't it? Of a guy in his 50s, perhaps.
Yeah.
And I'm starting off. It wasn't sort of. I think I was by standard definitions obese, but not in any horrific way. I thought my lifestyle was pretty good. But then I had also in the back of my mind had this idea that my knees were getting a bit noisy. I was struggling to bend, not struggling to bend over. I was resenting the fact. And then the thing that really did it was my so-called pals at the Rounders match, as I was making my home run, shouting out, "Get a sports bra!" And I was thinking, these man boobs, I've got to do something about this now.
I mean, there's something I hear a lot, Carl. The things you're saying now is starting to feel creaky. Not so much the sports bra thing. I haven't heard that one before, but that's quite a good one. But it is things like joining in with sports with your children or grandchildren, and things like that throw up these little reminders that maybe things are going the wrong way slightly, and not how you'd hope they'd be. So physically wise, So yeah.
Okay, so that's where we started at that point, and with that kind of encouragement to do something about it, and that is after 8 weeks or so. This is it's like a classic before and after pictures, and I've got to say, Henry, I am really chuffed with that. I am so pleased.
You should be, mate.
Thank you very much for your help with this. And it was a pleasure to stand in the garden in the rain yesterday and take those pictures. It's not sunny here all the time, mate. And take those pictures in the jungle that is our garden. So thank you so much.
Fantastic, mate. And it's a shame you haven't got the side by side, but
there's
so much changed. Oh, there's so much that has changed there, mate. There we go. It's not just the weight loss, if you look at your posture as well, how you're standing,
Yes.
how you're carrying yourself, there's like it's not just the muscular thing, it's a confidence thing as well. And, like you've said in some of your feedback, at the end of the course, is that you feel like a changed man, and you can see that. And that's, it's not just about the physical changes, it's the mental changes as well, which is really rewarding for you guys and for us as coaches.
Yeah, it's superb. And the picture on the right there, the classic Weight Watchers shot, isn't it? I don't know if you do these, generally speaking.
I didn't ask you to do that, no. So I like that, though. It's a good one, mate.
Well, this was about 3 weeks ago, actually.
Yeah.
And we were in the biggest log cabin I've ever been in my life.
New wardrobe required.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm a bit mad with you about that. I've lost kilos, but now I've got to buy more bloody jeans now. But anyway, that's a small price to pay for this progress. And also, Louisa said I should have toned my nipples down a bit. So sorry about the filter on there. They are very pink, as to be said. Sorry if that's too distracting. What your eye is meant to be drawn not to the nipples, which I don't know if that's going to get us struck off YouTube as well. But look at the lack of girth, so to speak. And it is like, you used to see these pictures in the 70s, didn't you, of people with their old clothes.
Yeah.
And Philippe's joined us. He's testing the system, and I'm sure he can offer these sort of results or be part of a program with the pickleball that we were talking about at 9:30 as well. So looking forward to talking to Philippe about that. But I was really chuffed with that as well. This came fairly early on, and the stats are that. And I need to ask you about this actually. I was at 87, I think, was 9 kilos, and I got down to 79. I weighed myself this morning, and like a proper boxer in his boxers. It's best to weigh yourself first thing in the morning, isn't it?
It is first thing, yeah.
Maybe even after you've eliminated a few waste products for all those extra grams as well. And it looked like it was 77. Is it possible to lose 2 kilos overnight or in a 24-hour period? Or am I?
Depends when. So if you weighed yourself, did you weigh yourself in the morning before?
Yeah. Yesterday at 79, and this morning it looked like it was 77.
So water retention is normally the only way that you can gain or lose that much weight in a short period of time. So if you'd eaten particularly salty foods or sugary foods before you weighed yourself last time, potentially you could have been holding some water.
Okay.
And then that's kind of gone away.
Well, yes.
So yes, you did have a bit of a weekend, didn't you? So
well, that's why I wanted this is why I want to commend you so heartily. Is this is what happened last weekend. We've got discovery weekends, and basically we need to create recovery weekends. I've never drunk canecas in my life. I didn't want to be too much the British expat in Portugal, but I got into some bad company who you can see on the right of the picture, and I started drinking canecas on Friday night. And whilst I've been on the program with you, Henry, I've been to a beer festival. I've been away to the Beral factory and Obergon restaurant and had a massive blowout there. And just this last weekend in Tamar, we lived like Portuguese royalty, like right from Friday night through to Sunday afternoon, eating the most beautiful things. I was mindful while I was doing it. I didn't eat the amount I would have eaten a year ago, for example, because I was engaged in what I was eating, and I wasn't feeling guilty about it or bad about it. I was thinking, I know what this will do to me. So I will adjust a little bit, but I'll still enjoy myself. And that's what I love about your approach. You're not about the horsehair tracksuit, are you? And
no. I mean, even with the initial sort of advice that we gave you on nutrition and the stuff we set for you, it's still quite interesting food. Yeah. And obviously, if you hadn't have had those events, we'll call them, in the middle, you could have gone a little bit further, because we set 75 kilos as the goal, didn't we? And I think you could have got there without so much social stuff packed into that 8 weeks. But
no question,
we rarely have any clients that don't have something going on during their 8 week stint with us. It's just it is part of what we do. You can't expect people, to not go to their kid's wedding or, all sorts of things come up. But people have holidays for a week in the middle and all sorts. So, like you say, it's about, if we've done our job right, it's about you having the awareness and being educated enough on like exactly like you said, on what you're putting into your body and what effect it has. So just not mindlessly shoveling things down, just still enjoying it, but actually taking the time to enjoy the food or the drink or whatever you may be having, and just doing better than you would have done before. And it shows in your results, Carl. Losing was it 9 kilos? Yeah. In the 8 weeks is amazing. Really, really great.
8. I mean, 8. At the best of times, it was 10,
And
the
we did
worst
come down a
times,
bit more, didn't we?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I've got the habits. It's in the muscle, literally, to head towards 75. There has to be a deadline. There has to be a deadline, and I really like how you've transformed that the guilt part, because that's why diets and workout regimes don't tend to work. I think
we don't call it a diet; we call it a nutrition plan. We're very careful to not call it a diet.
Right,
for that reason.
right.
Yeah.
And this whole thing we've got, it's really unhealthy, isn't it? That most people have with food, generally speaking, is, and I've seen it, and I thought I ate quite healthily, as you've lived with us, haven't you, as guests, and we eat pretty well.
Yeah.
But I learned more nuances, and I saw that thing about there is no point stepping up to the bar or a table or a plate and feeling bad about what you're about to do. Be conscious about it, be mindful about it, understand the consequences. But it's really counterproductive, isn't it, to get into the whole cycle of, oh, this is really bad, I shouldn't be doing this. That is not, I don't think that's very productive.
It's about the overall picture, and sort of the 80-20 principle, that if 80% of the time you're making the right choices and doing the right things, and when you do have a weekend away or a night out or a holiday, you can enjoy it. But the rest of the time, you try and stick to the plan and just, not treating yourself every single time you go to the gym and feeling like you should treat yourself. It's about getting it right most of the time, and then being able to enjoy those times when you want to let your hair down a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly that's what I've experienced to some excess in many ways, and I think the Tamar weekend was definitely the water retention thing, that the rich diet, all that sort of stuff could well
alcohol
boost. The alcohol for example. So isn't it great? You can lose weight, you can get a bit toned up, because it's not just about the weight, of course, is it?
No.
That was never in my, because I hadn't weighed myself for decades, so the weight thing was never an issue for me. It was tone and shape that I was looking for, and that's come as well. Lots of lovely comments. Before my galal goes cold, are you all right till about 1:30, Henry, to answer?
Yeah,
fine. That's wonderful. Okay, because I'd love to tee this up correctly. I'm sorry you don't have one in your hand as well, but I just want to I'll try something Portuguese here. It's going to be galal in a box. We're trying something from Serra Leite, made with milk from the Alentejo. It has been sterilized, so I think the full creamy richness that you might expect from the Alentejo, fresh from the cow, won't be quite like that. But this is galal in a box, in a nice terracotta jug on the cover there. And Mrs. M, did you try this? Yeah. Oh, hold on, she's going to be a voice from the side. What do you think?
I think it is a gateway drug.
And I'm thinking already as well, these are the sort of foods.
How much sugar has it got in it?
Let me just have a look at.
I was going to ask the same thing, Louisa.
Okay, let's just look at the instructions. Not the instructions. I think the instructions are fairly obvious, aren't they? Ingredients. We've got light parcialmente, and also desnafado. 1.3, that probably means sort of semi-skimmed or something. 1.3%, still quite fatty, isn't it? Then sugar after that. Then some salt at 0.35. And this is what you could be careful of, isn't it, Henry? These processed foods and what they might bring to your diet. It's got aroma of salt. What is that? Although, it doesn't sound entirely pleasant when you put it like that.
It kind of tastes a bit like a pastel de nata. I'm
going in anyway. I'm about to try the galal Alentejano to see what it's like. That's the color of it, folks. Very thoughtful, Mrs. M. Don't want to be dropping that on the desk, do we? And we're going to drink it from the Good Morning Portugal mug, as we would suggest everybody does. Let's go for it. You've got to see how it hits the nose first. It smells like a coffee, but kind of fatty and creamy. Oh, it's a grandma drink. That with a Berau in it is something that it doesn't fit in. No, I'm not having. No, please, no. I'm not going to do. I could be celebrating, but I'm not going to ruin all the good work with a 1,000-calorie coffee this morning. I like it. Right context, perfect. Go on, Henry. What's your view?
I was going to say you've obviously done this on purpose, haven't you, to highlight the importance of being aware of how many calories you're drinking during the day.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Indeed.
obviously.
Yeah. And
I would posit that's probably quite a high calorie drink. And high in sugar.
It would be like
Mrs. M saying it's very Christmassy. So let's wait till Christmas before we enjoy this. This is not on every morning.
Translated is sugary, I presume.
Yes, right. A sugary, fatty, and alcoholic. Oh my God! It smells like a chocolate liqueur now. I'm not drinking that.
Just have a sip.
All right, just have a tiny sip. All right.
That's better, isn't it?
Grandmas all over Portugal absolutely love that, wouldn't they? Thank you, Mrs. M, for enabling me this morning.
Hey, Henry.
In every sense.
Hi, Louisa.
This morning, right? So that's again going back to the the idea of we can enjoy the things of Portugal, and in moderation. You had me measuring
the whole carton.
Don't drink the whole carton. Don't have it for breakfast every morning. It's a treat, and that's the way. This is what I've learned with working with you, Henry. You've done this remotely from the UK. You're based in beautiful Devon, and it's on an app, isn't it, where everything can be measured and monitored. You get to see the feedback, and then you give me feedback and a little video at the end of the week. Tell us more about that
app. So we've had it developed for our course. Within the app is sort of the central hub of everything. We do have in-person clients that use it as well, but obviously with a remote client, it's really, really useful way of keeping everything rather than the old way of sending spreadsheets and then speaking in Messenger and all sorts of different things. And using different apps. It's all in one place. So we've got a calorie tracker in there. So obviously you can, as you know, you can track all your food. For us, we can set a meal plan for you in there as well, which you can follow or you can adjust. Then we put your training plans in there as well. So how much we want you to exercise during the week. There's a messenger service in there. So we can communicate in that. And then you do your daily and weekly check-ins, which tells me exactly, we set the questions for those, tells us exactly what you've been doing. And then, as you know, when we get your weekly check-in back, I then give you a weekly feedback, little video feedback. And kind of we make a plan for the following week, and we do that every week for the 8 weeks to try and keep you on track.
Yeah, superb. And you're right. I mean, it can get very messy, can't it? And also you want to kind of have to sort of lubricate the process, don't you? If people having to open up Excel and work on spreadsheets, they're going to go off it, aren't they? They're going to go off. Yeah. You've made it as easy as is possible. There are a lot of moving parts to this, aren't there? Including, to answer Louise's question here, what did the exercise program involve? Do you do a lot of strength training? For me, we did, didn't we? I started going to the gym for the first time as a result of this. So what are the various aspects that are being brought together in the app here, Henry?
What in terms of the training?
Well, diet, one of them, isn't it? I mean,
nutrition, training, and mindset, basically the three sort of pillars that we deal with.
Okay.
And to answer, sorry, was it Louise's?
Yeah. Do you do a lot of strength training? Yeah.
I mean, it's based around a little bit of everything, really. But the strength training is important for maintaining muscle mass, which is the key to body composition, to changing your body composition. So lowering your body fat and maintaining your muscle mass. You need strength training. You need high protein diet, which is what we basically focus on. And then obviously a lot of walking as well, just to complement that. And occasionally some high intensity exercise as well. I did try and persuade you to go to some of the classes, didn't I, Carl? But I don't know if you managed it in the end at the local gym.
No, I haven't. But
you've done really well anyway. So
you've changed me. You've turned me from somebody who used to walk past the gym and be a bit sneery about it. Like, I walk my dog and I don't need to go and use all those machines. To someone that actually really likes being in there now. I think probably with gyms it's a bit of that not love hate, but like, you're a bit resistant, and then when you go, you remember why you go, and you feel great. I mean, I felt fantastic walking home in the rain yesterday. I felt sort of bigger and stronger as I was walking home from the gym, which is, I can see it if I look out the window now, and all of those strange noises that used to come from there, I now understand. I'd make them myself, and maybe I will go to a spin class or something like that one of these days. The app is brilliant, Henry. They're really, really good. And that answers Louise's question.
Like you said, it does streamline the process. It makes it much easier for you and for us as coaches. So it can only be a good thing.
Yeah. Bon dia de VRSA, sunny morning between the storms down there in the Algarve. Pete saying hi to everybody. Pete, not a fan of the ready-mixed galao. Just why, when they are so cheap, delicious, and available everywhere? Galao in a box needs to be in the bin. It's trying something Portuguese, Pete. Come on, be a little bit more open-minded. Of my pictures, those boxes need to wash. Okay. Sexercise, best way to get in shape. Lol. That's not part of the app, but I'm guessing you wouldn't be averse to people
no,
using that sexual intercourse as part of a calorie-controlled routine as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Why not? It's burning calories.
Yeah, certainly it's improved life in the bedroom for me, if I may comment upon that for a moment. I'm sleeping more deeply and for longer. I don't know what you expected me to say there. Olive and wine harvesting, great way of keeping fit in Portugal. Unfortunately, they are usually followed by a 5-hour meal. And well done, Carl from Pete. You do look better. Clean boxes do help. So, okay, point taken there, Pete. Thank you very much. Smoky Treats, morning to you. Well done, Carl. Cheers, mate. And fantastic result, Carl from Coach Turner. Terrific, Carl from João de Norte. Bon dia todos from Antonia, who's here with comments about boxed galaos, I'm sure, as well. Are your nipples always that pink, or have you been breastfeeding again? I'm not answering that. I'll leave them guessing. Chest feeding, I think it's called now, not breastfeeding. Well done, Carl from Tug. And I didn't even notice the nipples until he brought our attention to them. I didn't either. It's Mrs. M. Bon dia, alegria todos from Francis in Porto. I tuned in and thought I'd join the intro of the Fireman's Calendar introduction. Yes! Looking good, Carl. I'm impressed. Should take a leaf out of your fitness journey. Well, you've got enough on your plate. And this is something we can say as well, Henry, about arriving in a new country. We'll come back to that. Wow, Carl, what a fabulous transformation. Cheers, Shannon. He's back on the seafood diet, is Tony. Come to think of it, I never left it. Yeah, I see food and I eat it. Don't forget, this is a good point, Henry. Don't forget your appetite reduces as you go through a program like this. Do most people experience that? I have.
Do you know what? I've not heard that before from any of my clients, actually, to be fair. Right. Occasionally, you know, if we're going through the program and someone's doing really well, and if I've set them a certain amount of calories to eat and they're managing with it fine, I will reduce them as we go through, only because if their muscle mass has dropped slightly, their metabolism will also have dropped slightly. So sometimes to keep that momentum going, we will drop the calories. But I mean, generally, I'm having people, you know, coming from a fairly sedentary lifestyle, to this, and that extra output kind of tends to make them more hungry. But
I do understand.
Over the 8 weeks, I mean, potentially long term, you may find that, but my appetite certainly has never dropped.
Well, I've changed my relationship to hunger, you know, because I've been
spoken about that, didn't we? About reframing it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is another, you know, there are so many things that I recall now that have been a whisper from you that's turned into, oh yeah, I really get that now. And hunger has been reframed, you know, and whereas I grew up thinking, you know, I'm hungry. It's like disaster. I mustn't be hungry for more than half an hour or an hour. I mean, that says a lot about how lucky we are in our culture, doesn't it? That you don't have to be hungry for, notwithstanding some people clearly in our culture who do go hungry for bad reasons, not privileged reasons like this. I was able to not panic and think, well, okay, I'm hungry, you know, or am I bored? Maybe I should just have a coffee. Am I thirsty? That's right. Yeah. And I think, you know, the food industry has helped with this, hasn't it? It's stationing itself at every vantage point to deal with hunger within a few minutes for people. That is not a great thing about our culture necessarily.
There's also getting breakfast right as well.
Yeah.
You know, if you have too much sugar in your breakfast, your insulin level is going to spike, then it's going to drop, and you're going to feel hungry by sort of 10 o'clock and just be reaching. Or if you don't eat the right things for breakfast or enough for breakfast, it can kind of set you up for failure throughout the day.
Well said. Yep. And that is another great thing that's come from you. That's fantastic breakfast combo, which I've eaten for, I would have thought by, 8 weeks in, I'm going to get bored of the same breakfast, but it's a habit. It's a really lovely habit to carefully.
And that's also another thing. So sometimes people say, I can't eat the same thing every day. I'm like, well, what do you eat at the moment? Oh, a bowl of cereal every day.
Yes. Well, then that's what you're doing, isn't it? You're challenging a lot of people's kind of received or accepted so-called wisdom on this as well. So, like you say, of the three parts to it, mindset is a very crucial part of it. Progress is inspiring, says Solo 50 Plus Portugal. Thank you for being here, by the way, this morning, Louise. As Gary said, it's not just the food in Portugal; it's the drink, and especially the homemade wine and spirits that I find a challenge. Yeah, and I think the thing is to turn it into a treat, isn't it, rather than a lifestyle. Or have a taste instead of having to eat the whole blooming thing. Again, the food industry doesn't help us with its sense of portions. You know, a lot of these treats, I'm happy with just a taste of them. You don't have to eat the whole thing. It seems wasteful. You could share it, couldn't you? But, you know, who decides how much you eat? Often it's not us, is it? No surprise, but I've been mindful about my weight for most of my adult life. My strategy has been to remain mindful and never get to the point where I need to lose more than a couple of pounds. Good strategy there. And they already sell Galau in small packs, a Tetra Pak like the small milk ones, and in pods for the home coffee machines. A Galau in our cafe is 80 cents. How much is your sachet of preservatives, salt, and food desiccant in a packet? Yeah, fair enough, Pete. I understand your review there. We've done that, and I hope we've answered all those questions. If you've got any more, we've got Henry for a few more minutes. If you've got more questions, anything with Beryl in it is great. Agreed, actually, Pete. Great job, Carl. Looking great. Unfortunately, says James, with the challenge changes with the move to Portugal, I've acquired an additional 2 to 3 unwanted kilos since arriving, intending that my recent increase in physical activity will get me back to my healthier and preferred weight and fitness levels. Now, on that note, it was the Americans who brought to my attention the college 15, which is the 15 pounds you put on, I believe, when you go to college. Kids tend to get a bit bigger when they go to college and start drinking and eating in a very different way to they're used to. I have reframed this into the Portugal 15. It is, I mean, you found this, didn't you, Henry, when you came to Portugal? The temptations are great, aren't they?
Yeah, I was actually preparing for a photo shoot when we came to Portugal.
Sorry about that.
2 weeks after we got back, and it wasn't the best plan to come to Portugal a couple of weeks before that, but it had already been arranged. So, it is lovely out there, and there's a lot of temptation. We hadn't drank for I think 6 months, and then within about 3 hours of being in Portugal,
and especially the company of Mrs. M, the red wine was flowing, wasn't it?
Flowing, yeah.
But you're not saying give up drink, are you? You're saying drink in moderation as well.
And I have a conversation with everyone at the start and say, look, in an ideal world for this 8 weeks, if you want to get the most out of it, you're going to have to definitely make some changes. But if you could stay off alcohol for the 8 weeks, that would be great. And then normally comes, I'm going on holiday. It's my 50th birthday. All the things come out. So we get them out of the way. And we're like, right, we'll deal with that when we come to it. But do you think you could abstain for the rest of the time? 9 times out of 10 people can, and once they start seeing the results, literally within the first week, they want to stick to it. And it's not a cheap course, so there's that as well, which is a huge motivator for people. So yeah.
There you go. Lovely feedback from Sarah there. Great, Carl. Svelte. I've not been described as that ever, I don't think. So thank you for that. And when you guys come over, you're asking what is the ideal breakfast. I'm not going to give Henry's IP away. That'll be so wrong. I've benefited so much from this. I can't then give all his trade secrets away. However, when you guys stay over,
go for it. We share everything. Our job. I share a load on my Facebook page. Probably the entire contents of the course if you would follow me for enough time, but it's just what we help people do is put it all together and have some accountability, and that's where the value is. So it's not huge secrets that we're trying to keep from everybody at all, mate. We want to help as many people as possible, and if people can do it on their own, that's great and really good. So but people tend to need help to put it all together for an 8-week period, and that's what we do.
Yeah, and you can easily drift away, can't you? Without that accountability, as you say, you can drift away. Okay, fair enough then. I will. We got Philippe joining us to talk about pickleball after we've said goodbye, and thank you to you, Henry. But a couple more minutes because I want to squeeze some things in here and tell you, the breakfast raspberries, but it could be many of Portugal's wonderful fruits. And I've got to show you a picture. Whilst I was away on tour, on a very indulgent weekend, I still stuck to the breakfast, which is comprised of yogurt, of granola, and there are some very good granolas, proprietary granolas here in Portugal once you start looking, and in it, as well as the chia seeds. I don't think I had them with me, but the chia seeds, the things that get stuck in your pan scourer, they go in there as well, and some nut butter to give it some nice texture and protein, no doubt. And this is what I was able to mix up on tour. Sorry, it looks like a bit of the colors of it, I think, are beautiful. There is some fresh fruit in there. And what I did, looking as I sat out on my balcony, looking at the church in Tamar, I squeezed a persimmon fruit into it, which was absolutely delicious. What a great country we live in to have a stunning breakfast start to the day. So that's the basic idea there, Sarah, is to have some yogurt, some granola, some nut butter, and some fresh fruit and some chia seeds. And I'm hooked. I love that breakfast.
Yeah.
So
high
finally,
protein, high fiber, protein, high fiber, natural sugar is great. It's a great start to the day.
Superb. Okay. So finally then, Louise is saying, I need a program like this. Is it a monthly fee to do the program? I love being active, but need focus and structure. So there it is. That's what you're talking about, isn't it? The focus and structure. As a 55-year-old, I should be strength training. Tell us how people can get involved, Henry.
So the best way at the moment is to add myself or my wife Nina on Facebook. Hope, can you share our handles maybe after
I'll share your handles. I'll share your handles. Is this on Facebook?
Yeah, so our Facebook.
Yeah, which I know will be for the person who asked the question. I know is not a Facebook. I don't think she's a Facebook user, and some people aren't. But so if you have a problem with connecting via Facebook, I'll connect you personally. You can see my number.
Great. Through Carl. Yeah, just come through Carl, and we can get in touch and have a chat. That's normally how we start. We'll have a chat on the phone or Zoom, and just make sure it's going to be right for you first initially. That if it's not right for you, it doesn't feel right, we don't click as a coach and a client, but it's not worth doing.
Yes, well said. Well said. For me, however, it was a perfect fit, and I am so grateful to you. Just one last look, if we may, at my pink nipples. Sorry, no, my the change there that Henry took me through. There he is, of course, on the left, and that is what's happened over these last couple of months. So, Henry, thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Carl,
helping me with this. It's been a really educational. It's been life changing. That's what I've called. To let you into a secret, that's what I've called my article about it in the Portugal resident. I'm a changed man, and you were so instrumental, helpful, and generous and supportive in the process of doing that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, mate. And we need a chat as well off air about what you're going to do next, because I'm not just going to leave you like that. We need to know where you're heading next. So
all right, and to lay off this sort of thing.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, mate. Thank you so much. Love to meet you. And the little fellow, how's he doing? Is he okay?
He's all right. Yeah, he's getting better now. He's on the mend. So yeah.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. All right, lots of love to you and beautiful Devon. Take care and bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Wonderful. There goes Henry of StreekPro, and I put his Facebook handle in the chat as he requested. But if you want to get in touch with Henry, if you're watching this on video, I'll put it in the YouTube description as well. Let's not keep him waiting any longer. Let's give him a nice big round of applause. It's Philippe. Good morning to you. Hola, bom dia, Philippe. Tudo bem?
Hello. Good morning.
Lovely to meet
very
you.
Nice to be here. I confess I didn't know the existence of your show before, but I can see it. So quite it looks good.
Thank you so much. Well, you came on a good morning, I think, because we're talking about health and fitness, and of course pickleball can be so helpful to people, can't it? And it's a great, the focus of our conversation this morning and the show is the expat demographic, probably of 50 plus we're talking about. And pickleball, I mean, I know you're going to tell us about the tournament that's coming up in Caldas de Rainha, but some people won't really know what it is. So I think perhaps that's where we could start. And people how helpful it is for the the aging expat, perhaps.
Pickleball, I guess it's an amazing sport for a whole demographic of people, from kids to older people. It's very easy to start to pick up because technically is not very difficult. So it's not like other racket sports where, like in table tennis or ping pong, as you also call it, you have all those spins and the ball can get those little backwards. No, this is a more straightforward. The movements are gentler and easier to pick up. It's not as demanding physically as tennis, although it has a lot. It gets a lot of tennis technique and kind of strategy, but the ball and the racket, it's much lighter. So, and you don't have to run as much because the court is reduced in size.
Yeah,
so
and it's not just about power, is it? It's not just a power game.
Power, it's about tactical awareness and moving, because if the technicality of the sport is easy to pick up and it's so everyone kind of feels they are in the same level, what makes someone stand out if the perception of the game and the awareness, the kind of geographical awareness where you are, where the ball is, and kind of putting the ball where you want. But it's very easy to put the ball where you want. It's just getting practice, maybe reaction time. It's a great exercise to kind of have the hand-eye coordination, and so both for kids who are learning the sport, it's a very good entry-level exercise, because also the paddle is light, the ball is light, so they can hit the ball very easily, and they can progress to other sports, racket sports. But it's a good introduction to racket or paddle sports.
Absolutely, I've seen this. I mean, we have a mutual friend, don't we, who had you be here this morning, who connected us, and that's Colin. Rugby.
So you haven't played pickleball before?
Well, I have, because he invited the whole family over to Caldas, where you did your demonstration.
Yes,
and everybody in the family had a go. You know, we range from 4 years of age up to in our 50s, and everybody had a go that day and enjoyed it.
It's incredible. When I started, I actually started playing in Singapore. I lived in Singapore. I was an expat before as well.
Right.
And when I started playing, I was the youngest by far. Everyone was like 60 and 70 people there. They have a very healthy attitude towards sports in a community, not as like competition sports, but as a community. So every neighborhood has a sports center, and retirees and old people all go there to play. And when I started, I think, okay, this is gonna be. I only saw old people. I went with an uncle of mine, because my wife is Singaporean, since she has family there. He introduced me to the sport, and I was like, okay, let's try. I mean, I don't know if I will like it or not. You seem to not my demographic. I'm quite sportive and let's say competitive as well. But then I realized, oh no, they are beating me. They are. I mean, it's
how embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. Yeah, it's embarrassing, because the first few months I couldn't win one game.
Really? I thought you were going to be like rise through the ranks.
No, because I mean, it's the thing about the sport. You can be playing. I mean, I'm just turned 40, but back then I was 36 or 37. I was playing against 60, 70 years old, but because it's not a physical demanding sport, the difference of age doesn't really translate to the outcome of the game. So it's the experience, and they were much more experienced than I was there. I was just being introduced to the sport, and they were playing for 10 years or more.
That's brilliant. So that is brilliant and hilarious.
That's the beauty of pickleball, and I think the reason why in the United States it's crazy. It's the amount of players and the boom that it had in the past decade. It's astonishing. In Asia, funny enough, the numbers are very big as well. Obviously, the sport started in the United States. It transitioned to Asia in the 80s, and now you have a lot of countries in Asia with a massive community. And I think from the last 10 years, it's starting to pick up in Europe. Okay, Spain was the first country, then UK as well. So those are the two big communities in Europe. And in Portugal, we introduced, so I returned back to Portugal 2 years ago. There were already a few groups, and actually the Caldas group is actually the oldest in the country. I think they started in 2017 as an expat group. Then you have in Algarve a few communities as well that started. I don't know exactly when, but they are quite established already. But everywhere in the country started as an expat activity, because for the common Portuguese it was not known. And that's what we are trying to do now. We are trying to bring the pickleball to the Portuguese people, to make it aware. I mean, I don't know if you know, but paddle, which is another racket sport, it's a very it's very big in Portugal. It was also very big in Spain. And the work that we are trying to do is trying to entice these paddle players to try pickleball, because yes, it's a different sport. It has, but it's a double sport as well, and a paddle player or a tennis player or a table tennis player, they will pick up pickleball very easily.
Absolutely. So there's an active engagement, is there, or strategy for bringing people from between the sports, for bringing, like you're it's like, it sounds like a Cold War.
I think the best is word of mouth. You bring one, you make it, especially if you're trying to entice like an experienced player that is already playing paddle very well. You need to bring and make him play with good pickleball players, so he understands it's not an easy sport. Because that's
that'll be the challenge. That'll be the challenge, won't it?
This is another thing. It's a very like communal sport, but as in anything, it can be very competitive as well. And it's like the graph. If you are very good players, like the professional Americans, I mean, it is hard to play with them, because although it's easy, there's a jump. At some point, you reach like a plateau, good enough to play in a fun, but then there's an extra kick for to be a professional. And people who are introduced to the sports, they think, oh, this is like a third age kind of sports, because you only see in videos old people playing. One thing they don't know, that maybe if you play against those older people, you will lose it, right? If you're starting the game, as I did,
like you did,
I did in the beginning. But people don't realize how competitive can be as well.
Well said. And the other thing about this, which I think is useful to talk about, is integration into the community here. So it's sociable, isn't it?
It's a great. I think we have in our group in Porto. So we are based in Porto.
Okay.
We have right now it's almost half, but a lot of expats coming and such, and I think it's a good way in to meet other people. You are in a new country. You lose your family, you lose your friends. You are here. You don't lose. You just decided to move, right? You live, but you want to expand your cultural and your group of friends. And this is a very nice way to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing, because
expat myself.
You understand, don't you? You understand.
I understand completely, and I always use sport as when I was living abroad, as a way to meet people.
Yeah.
Either in football, table tennis. I mean, pickleball later on, but it's such an important kind of part of my life as an expat.
Totally understand that, and I think that will be very helpful for people.
It's a gateway of meeting new people.
Absolutely. So you Portuguese originally?
Half of my family is Portuguese from my mother's side, and then my father's side is all over the place, all over Europe.
Is that the Paskiewicz?
Yeah. It's a Polish grandfather, although I don't speak Polish, and I was actually born in Brazil.
Wow, what an international fellow you are.
When I was very young, when I was 6 years old.
Well, that you make a great point, Philippe, about this, about a different way to integrate. Not everybody wants to go to an expat meetup where they have to walk uncomfortably into a bar or a cafe, sit down and make polite conversation.
Yeah,
With this, you get a racket in your hand and there's a distraction, isn't there? And
then those relationships kind of grow with much more connected in a
exactly. And you're saying, you know, in your club as well, you've got 50-50, half foreigners, half local Portuguese. What a wonderful way of making native Portuguese friends as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're in Porto. Colin was saying that there's a tournament in Caldas as well. So tell us could you begin by telling us what Peak is and how this works across the country?
We started this company, Peak, actually as a league for Europeans. Okay, so we started, and our first tournament was in Porto back in April, and we managed to attract 100 players all over Europe, the top players, including like 15 or 20 of the top players of each country. And then we had our second European League in Spain, in Alicante, back in July. And we are actually doing our third European League in UK, in Hampshire, close in between London and Southampton. But after creating this European League, we thought, okay, we're starting to have some Portuguese people joining this European League. So why not? And I could see there were groups popping everywhere. There's a group in Braga. There's a group in Viana do Castelo. There's the Caldas group, which is the oldest, as I said, and maybe it is the biggest. I don't know exactly how many members that they have. Then in Algarve, you can see popping in several cities. Obviously, the Lisbon, they also have a great community. So we thought, why not start a Portuguese league as well, on top of the European League, a separate league, but catered for the Portuguese player and a Portuguese expat player that maybe is not as competitive or as good as the European. So obviously our level is still not there compared to the rest of Europe, but it's our own reality, and we only increase our level if we play together. So that was the thought behind the Portuguese Speakable Tour, which is a specific league within Peak Leagues. So basically, explaining Peak is an entity that is organizing several tournaments, and we have these two leagues, the European League and the Portuguese Tour.
And you're coming to Caldas.
Yeah, and it's incredible. In the first tournament, it was in Setúbal in September. We had 80 players, and it was amazing. I was expecting, when we decided to create this, I was expecting 30, 40 players maximum, which will be the local community and some extra players, hardcore players that would come to play. Having 80 players at Setúbal was very surprising. And then for the Caldas, almost 90% of the tickets sold out in the first day when we
This is tickets to take part. So this is a competition.
So to register. So to register in a competition, you need to register beforehand. So you cannot just appear. And almost all the tickets went out in the first couple of days. So the search and the desire to play in these tournaments is amazing, and we are surprised that it is going so well. Because we didn't know we had so much players.
When is it? So people can come. Is it still possible to take part in the tournament?
The tournament is sold out right now.
Is it possible to come and watch?
Yes, it's we have the tournament is going to be in Caldas da Rainha in the pavilion, the sport pavilion of Associação Arneirense.
Yes,
and it will be from Friday evening. I have a small pickleball clinic before the competition. So we'll have a clinic where I'll be teaching intermediate players who want to improve their game.
Cool.
We'll have a clinic at 3 p.m. and a 5.
This coming Friday, this week.
Yeah, this coming Friday on the 20th.
Are there any opportunities? The most likely inquiries, I suspect, here is people wanting to try it for the first time. Will people be able to try it?
You can come. You can come to have. We'll have some breaks, and you can come and try. And we have paddles.
So much. And then the bigger game around the country, because we're getting questions coming in. This sounds like fun. I picked the right morning to tune in. You certainly did. And it sounds perfect for you. She says, I can get a bit competitive when my kids were little, even struggle to let them win Monopoly. Life lessons they'll never forget there. Sport and activity, a great way for integrating. Where do I sign up? So that's a good question. Where can Louise sign up? And presumably you've got a national network of clubs.
So we have our website, peakleagues.com, and you can register through there. We will send you a link where exactly the registration is. Because we were so overwhelmed with the first tournament, the Setúbal one. We had registrations through our website, but it got so big that we decided to move to a more professional platform that already kind of hosts all type of tournaments, and so people need to create a profile in that platform. It's called RAQT, RAQT. Okay, so people will download the app, create a profile, and then you have there several tournaments that you can all over Europe. And we are there. We have there like an internal page inside the application, and you can register in all our tournaments through the RAQT app.
Okay, so did you say pickleleagues.com? Well, can you type that for a private chat? Because I'm not getting very good.
So our website is here.
Yeah, this is wonderful, Philippe. Well, I hope the competition goes very well on Friday. It sounds like there's so much passion for the sport. Not to be confused with paddleball. Pickleball is an open court, isn't it? With the
open court. So
it's
the court, the size of the court, they took it from badminton. So it's a badminton court with a net lowered down to more or less 1 meter. It's slightly lower than the tennis height. Okay, the tennis net height. You have it can be a sport played one versus one, so singles or doubles. But the doubles is the most common version of the sport. Okay. So you don't have the walls like in paddle. So it's in that sense it's closer to tennis. If the ball hits and you make a winner, it's a winner, right? So you need to hit the ball back in order to keep the game going. And it also gets a lot of table tennis because strategically both teams will come up closer to the net to a distance more or less the same distance as if there was a table ping pong table in between the two doubles. So reaction times are very similar to table tennis because you end up like 3 meters apart from each other, each team hitting the ball. When the game speeds up, it's very frantic, it's very fast. You really need to have a reaction time, and you have this chest type of attack, which is very common in table tennis, the backhand, which you also use in pickleball. And it's hard. You don't have that type of attack in tennis or in paddle. So it's
like the beauty. It's like a hybrid of what's great about the game's table tennis.
Every game, every good aspect of all the other games are gel into pickleball.
Fabulous.
And that's what makes it so fun and so addictive.
Philippe, thank you so much. Lovely to meet you. Much prazer. And good luck.
Thank you to me. And I hope to see you in Caldas visiting us.
Well, yeah.
You can do a live through our tournament.
We can do that. As long as there's no food or drink available this weekend. I need a rest. peakleagues.com is the website address there. Thank you so much for introducing us.
Thank you
today to this. Would love to give it a try. So you've got a new convert, I think, with Solo 50 Plus. Louise there. Sounds perfect for you. And for the person who's moving around, as we know, she lives quite the nomadic house-sitting lifestyle. That's what her videos are about on YouTube. You can plug into this sport all around the country, presumably in Portugal now.
So there's groups from north to the south. You just if you use Facebook, you can search pickleball in Portugal, and will come up all the groups that or in the internet in a Google search. I think.
Well, do come back whenever you've got news or you want to tell us more about pickleball. You're always welcome, Philippe. Great to meet you.
Yes.
All the best to
Thank you, Carl.
Good luck with the event this weekend. Ciao, ciao.
Bye for now.
Thank you. Right, and what an amazing morning we've had. And Louise, I think you're glad you popped in this morning, apart from everything being on Facebook, of course. But I'm sure that there are ways around that. And just a couple more things to share before we go off this morning. We've got our meetup, of course, in San Martino de Porto at 1 o'clock. Next week, it's a bit of a special one. And we'll be moving along some of us. It's not a compulsory move. I need to frame this as an addition rather than a replacement. We have had our wonderful meetup at Palmeira for a couple of years, I think it must be now. And is it that long? Certainly getting on that way. And every Wednesday, you never know if there's going to be half a dozen or 20, 30 people at the height of our gatherings there. And that's at the very informal atmosphere of Palmeira, where you can just get a coffee or glass of fizzy water and just chat, or you can some people stay there for hours on end, and they're still there for dinner sometimes when we've had a lot of fun at Palmeira. And thank you to Nelson and Margarida for being such great hosts there. I believe they're closing during November, so there will be changes, and to herald the change, in addition to, I'm sure, some people rocking up at Palmeira next week, we've got this at the Storytellers Palace. And this is a bit different because it is more formal. There's a €25 lunch available, which includes all your soft drinks and a delicious lunch cooked by the proprietor, or one of them anyway. And we'll be, I think, Nuna's popping along. We'll have Sarah Davey from Spartan FX and other speakers and people with advice, not necessarily sort of formally speaking, but available on hand to assist you with your life here in Portugal. Or you might just want a bit of peace and look at the view from a beautiful balcony there. The weather may have cheered up a little bit, but look, there's a covered area where you can sit at the bar and look across the water here in beautiful San Martino de Porto. So that is an addition to our meetup schedule. That'll be happening. That's come quick. That's a week today at 1 o'clock in San Martino de Porto. I trust you had a great time last night, Heather, at the Cabaret Voltaire Lounge with the Caldasterenia meetup over there last night. Details have now come forth. For what I'll do is I'll put the details for Philomena's next trip. And now for my next trip to Golgão on the 11th of November. We'll be going Charabang trip from Silver Coast to Golgão via Almoral, the castle in the river. The details have been finalized and that is bookable. I will put a link to it on the home. I'll put something on the homepage of the website so that you can click through to that. And a couple of pictures and videos that have come in since we've been on air this morning. This was mine yesterday, which caused me to say, looks like winter has really arrived now in the bay here. That's what it was like, stormy and atmospheric in San Martino de Porto last night. Hopefully the weather will cheer up by lunchtime today or lunchtime next week, when you'll be able to sit outside or inside this hotel next week. And this beautiful picture, morning to you, Bob. I think this came from you, Bob, didn't it? Yeah, clearing off momentarily here in Carolina in Pontelima there. So yeah, this is what we expect. Well, not what we expect. This is what sometimes happens. You think it's going to be a miserable old day today. It's been raining overnight, and it can be beautifully sunny. It can look like this again by lunchtime. It really can here in Portugal. And a bit of video from João de Norte from John. So good to have you back, John. Here is your video. The dynamic waves, I believe, crashing in Viana yesterday. Just a little clip, but this gives you a beautiful view of the Atlantic. In one word there, bracing. Thank you for that, John. All of your wonderful contributions, if you will, on 590303. Thank you so much today to Jackie from Cascais, who joined us this morning, and join us tomorrow night, of course, for the tax efficient tips and financial planning for expats in Portugal webinar at 7:30 and the Dream Team at 9. Thank you to Henry. I have many thanks, endless thanks to give to Henry for the impact he's made on my life recently. Thank you to Henry for dropping in, and to Philippe telling us all about pickleball. One more thing to share. A special shout out to Antonio F, who over on our GMP VIP platform, if you want to support the show, please do so. With a monthly contribution. If you like what we do and you want to help us keep the show on the road, so to speak, sign up at gmpvip.com with a monthly donation, and you'll get access to all of this wonderful stuff over here, the community timeline, a classroom full of all sorts of mini courses and resources, a calendar to give you reminders of what's happening when, and you can access members directly via direct message. You can also block them if you don't want to come here for that sort of thing as well. And it's gamified as well. You can win yourself a Good Morning Portugal mug when you've achieved a certain level of contribution. But the reason I'm taking you there this morning is I want to jump to the latest comment, which is, do you remember the Portuguese sayings of the day, which T-Duck started up? Antonio F has picked it up and run with it. And his most recent is dar a bofetada e esconder a mão é do vilão. It's one of those ones that's got a sort of poetic ring to it, and one of those Portuguese sayings that has a slightly enigmatic and code-breaking sense to it as well. Giving a slap and hiding your hand is a villain. Make of that what you will. But I wanted to say thank you so much to Antonio, because this is a thread now with 232 comments. They're not all Portuguese sayings of the day, but most of them are. So thank you, Antonio, for your wonderful contributions to our GMP VIP, our Love Portugal resources, the private network for the supporters of the Good Morning Portugal show. Thank you to each and every one of you. I wish you a great morning, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, when, of course, we'll talk to Veronica and Carl Hyde. Yes, it's a month already since we spoke to Veronica in the Algarve and Carl Hyde in Lisbon, the English gentleman in Lisbon and the American lady in the Algarve. Join us for that tomorrow, and have a great day. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Bom dia, Portugal! In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.